All right, welcome back to Badge of the Bone podcast. I'm Denny,
I'm Al.
and here we are with another episode, Al.
Yep, we are back.
All right, let's do it.
Buckle up.
I'm giving up on society, up on my family, up on your social disease. I'm giving up on the industry, up on democracy.
Al, we are back.
We are. How you doing?
I'm well. You?
Good. It's been a busy day, but it's nice to be back here at Badge to the Bone headquarters doing this tonight.
It is. I've had a busy week, and I'd like to give a shout out to my 18-year-old son. Well, of course,
Yeah.
we've got five, we got three boys, but my 18-year-old in the middle there, we just went to Cape May, New Jersey this past week to watch him graduate from the U.S. Coast Guard boot camp.
That is.
Yeah, I mean,
how was it? How was it?
Well, it was a great.
How many
It was a great-
Kleenexes did you go through?
I did pretty good. It was no Kleenexes, but I was holding him back. It'd be tough. It was pretty surreal to watch him graduate. It was interesting to be there again. That's where I graduated boot camp
Yeah.
from 27 years ago.
I know, I was there.
So-
It means we're getting old.
So I graduated from boot camp and I have not gone back since. And then he decided to enlist, and we go up there. We went a couple of days early so we could enjoy some of Cape May, since I really didn't get to enjoy the town the first go around.
I can't imagine why.
No, but it was great. We actually got to do they did a dinner for parents and family and stuff. We got to meet one of the commanders from the base. I got to meet his company commanders, which for Coast Guard, it's just not a drill instructor, it's a company commander. So he had four, and I got to speak with them briefly to answer some questions, and I took the opportunity to get a good picture with his company commander so I could send him, which was pretty funny. But it was a great event. I'm very proud of him. He is excited. He's home for a few days, and this weekend we'll be trucking him down to South Carolina, where he'll be stationed at Station Georgetown, South Carolina, which looks to be a great spot.
Well, that you've got to be overjoyed. I mean, second generation.
Second generation.
Not only is he going into the military field, but that public safety arena.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sticking his foot in the water on that.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's where it starts sometimes.
I think it's great. He's such a great kid, and I was thrilled to hear that he was going to go do this. So congratulations, Dad. You did good.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Congratulations to him. It's a great endeavor, and I think he'll enjoy his duty. But that's what I did.
Yeah, you were
So-
busy.
Yeah, it was busy, and it'll be busy this weekend trying to move him, trying to get him down there and moved in. So, but otherwise, we have a guest tonight.
We do, and I think we're going to have an interesting conversation. So, Denny, who is our guest tonight?
So tonight we have Glenn Topping, and he is down in Florida. And Glenn has had a pretty experienced career, or careers, I guess. Done several things. He's got some time doing some bodyguard work in the music industry. I did. So I definitely am anxious to-
I definitely want to hear some of that.
Yeah, you can't come on Badge to the Bone and say you did that, and not talk about it at least a little bit. And then he served as an MP in the military overseas in Germany, and then he served 25 years on Broward County Sheriff's Office and finished his career where he retired from there, which most folks should know Broward County Sheriff's Office. I mean, they were on Cops. You had Wildest Police Chases, I think. That wasn't the sheriff on that show.
Was John Burnell?
Yeah, he was. I think he was sheriff.
Was he Broward? We're gonna have to find that out.
We will. But without further ado, Glenn, welcome to Badge to the Bone podcast.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate being on.
So, did we get that correct? Was John Bonnell, was he sheriff down there in Broward County?
No, John Bonnell was out west. The sheriff was Nick Navarro,
we messed that up.
We got that way off then.
and Nick Navarro was the sheriff.
Okay, all right. Oh
Back
well,
then.
we messed that one up, but he was on Wildest Police Chases.
Yeah. Well, going back
Yeah,
now, no offense to you. This was high school and college for us. Was one of the things that I know attracted me to the profession was sitting there on Saturday night watching Cops. 8 to 9 on Saturday
Yeah.
night was Cops.
Now, Cops was in Broward. That's correct.
And
Yeah,
they
I was
were
on-
in Florida a lot. And apparently you had a brush with that.
Yeah, I was on Cops in the first season, about 6 episodes.
Oh man, see, we need to go back and watch that now.
In doing my show research,
Did
I
you-
did pull it up.
Did you find it?
I did.
That's awesome. Now, I gotta ask, how was that experience?
It was interesting. It was fun in the beginning, but then it got a little old, having to drag these guys around all the time. But in the long run, it was fun watching yourself later on a couple of weeks later on the show.
That is pretty cool.
What is it, like 2 or 3 of them pile in the car with you?
Just 2. A cameraman was in the front, the sound guy was in the back.
Mhm.
And they just went out on the calls, got into the chases with us and fights, whatever happened, and they just filmed it.
I don't know that I'd want to do that today.
Yeah, right. Much different today, but that was a huge show for law enforcement.
Oh,
Yeah,
I ate it up.
Yeah,
they started with Broward County.
yeah, I remember.
Well, Florida and all kinds of crazy stuff.
It's
That's
a
true.
busy area down there. So Glenn, but before all of that, you did bodyguard work in the music industry.
Yes,
All right, so there's got to be a good story somewhere in there.
well, there's a few. Well, I was working in this famous rock and roll club called the Agora Ballroom down in South Florida, and that's where all the rock and roll people started, and then their careers skyrocketed from there. Where MTV even started their filming there back in the early '80s,
Oh, nice.
when it was just strictly music. Now it's all sorts of stuff. And that's where I got to know Johnny Depp, because Johnny Depp was a guitar player with the house band.
Oh, nice.
So we
21
became
Jump
good
Street.
friends.
Is he somebody you still keep up with?
I did it for it's been a while, but I did in the beginning. I've seen him a couple of times. I was on a radio talk show with him once. He called in. I was able to call in and talk to him. Then he was doing, right before I retired in 2009, they were doing this reunion of all these 80s bands.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in charge of crowd control. I had about 10 other deputies with me. And we got word that Depp was coming in with his group and his bodyguard and his family. And he was going to play with his old band a couple of sets and go back to LA. So I told my guys, listen, I know Johnny. I'll introduce it to him. Like, oh, you're full of shit. Get out of here. So he comes off the bus and he's walking around, and I hey, Johnny, come here. And he's kind of looking in my direction. And he's like, why is that cop calling my name? Right? So him and his bodyguard walk close to me. He looks at me and he goes, Glenn? I go, yeah, how you been, John? I haven't seen you in a while. I said, my guys like to meet you. So he shook their hands and said, hey, thanks for being here. And then, all right, Johnny, I'll talk to you backstage. We'll talk about old times. And my guys go, oh, you really do know. That's pretty cool.
I don't know,
That's what
like,
I told
holy
him.
moly, you're legendary now. That's awesome. That's
And
great.
then we're backstage and talked about old times in the club. And then he got on his bus and he left.
That's pretty cool.
Wow. So who else did you end up working with?
Well, I worked with a lot of the bands when they came into town. Van Halen.
Really?
Halen.
I was with David Lee Roth for 2 nights with him. He was a maniac. And there's so many of them. Who is it? Neil Diamond, Pat Benatar,
Oh,
Joan
all
Jett.
right.
oh yeah.
So many of them. So many over the years. Jeez.
Oh, Pat Benatar. Talk about a set of pipes.
Oh my God.
One of my favorite 80s rap queens.
Yeah, she's pretty badass.
Billy Joel.
Oh, Billy Joel, nice.
Jeez.
Man, you had some great ones.
Billy Joel was cool because we were back. I brought my wife to that show. We're in the dressing room with him and the group. And my wife goes, man, it's really cold in here. And it really was. So he takes off his leather jacket. And she goes, here, wear this. So she puts the coat on. We get him to the stage. After the show's done, we're walking out. And he goes, just keep the jacket. He gets on his bus and goes back.
Nice. Souvenir and everything.
Wow.
He was pretty nice. A couple of them are real jerks, but yeah, you got to do
I
it.
can imagine, yeah.
I mean, that goes with the territory.
Yeah.
I hope you didn't have to deal with Motley Crue ever.
No, I didn't do a Motley Crue.
I
No.
heard they were pretty off the chain, so
Like Iggy Pop was Maniac.
Yeah, that kind of almost goes without saying, I think.
He got into a fight with one of my bouncer friends he was on the stage and he was spitting and he spit
Ugh.
on my friend, and my friend and him got into a big fight.
I can imagine.
You're gonna get it now, Iggy. Oh my gosh! I mean, that begs the question. You're doing that, and you're coming across, big names,
Yeah,
and you leave that to go in the military.
yeah.
Man, was that just a calling to go to the military? Or you just had a
Well, I was
enough
always
of the
thinking about it. I was looking at going to civilian policing, but I think let me try the military.
Okay.
Just see if I can get into the MP Corps. My dad was he was a sergeant in World War II in Hawaii,
Oh wow.
in the Army Air Corps. So I figured, let me go in, do my thing. So I went in, went through basic, went through MP school, and then got sent over to Germany, and I did my time there as a sergeant, and then I got out.
Okay. Well, man, that's so, and second generation military,
Yeah,
and you leave there and you go to Broward.
good old Broward County. Yep.
So I got to
All hell
ask,
breaks loose.
in '84,
Yeah.
was it really hard to get a job?
No, it was very easy.
Really?
Yeah, first I started off as a reserve officer
Okay.
with the small city of Dania, and about 3.5 years later, they were merged into the sheriff's office, and everybody became deputy sheriffs. And then about a year later, I took the sergeant's test, and about a year later, I got promoted.
Interesting. And did you do most of your career in patrol, or did you bounce
I was
out?
in patrol mainly, but I was assigned to different units over the years. I was an organized crime detective working narcotic and addiction at the airport. I was a tactics instructor. I was patrol and field force supervisor. I did some bodyguard work with the sheriff's office also.
Okay.
And a hostage negotiator on SWAT for 13 years.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So we talk here a lot about the culture of law enforcement, things that are going on vis-a-vis leadership, mental health. And I started my career in the late 90s. So did Denny. How different was the whole landscape of policing in '84 when you signed on?
Well, minus the body cams that they have now, minus the cell phones that they didn't have back then, it was a lot different. The cops had respect from the people they worked with on the street and their administrators. They backed you up no matter what. Now, if you did something wrong, you got whatever happens. But if you did something and you got a complaint and you didn't do anything wrong, the agency backed you up. Unfortunately, now it's a 180.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw a stark difference because you came in 84 and you left in 09, correct?
Yes.
So you got to see all that change. So you're saying that there was a stark difference between the way administration viewed officers or supported the officers in your early career as opposed to what it was when you left.
Yeah, because each sheriff has their own way of doing things, and they
Sure.
felt like some of these commanders were more pro complainant than deputy.
Yep.
You had to really go through a lot of hoops to prove you didn't do anything wrong, but they would take the other person's word for it, just with by word, no over the evidence or anything like that. And it gets the mindset of the deputies changed. Like, why am I out here doing anything if you guys aren't going to back me up?
Yep, man, and that's damaging.
And I think it's probably worse today.
Oh, you got out just a few years before the bottom fell out.
Right.
Oh yeah. So I told my wife if I was still working, I'd probably be in jail.
I don't know how many retirees I have spoken to
Have
that
said
say
exactly
the exact same things. I would be locked up.
That's right.
It's crazy the way it's changed like that.
Oh yeah, it's insane, especially now with these guys that are doing this, going around filming everything. These First Amendment audit people, They got nothing
Oh,
better to do
yes.
except to videotape and bait the cops into doing something wrong.
Yeah, we had a dose of that up here too. We had a guy that was going around trying to
There's a group,
record.
actually.
There is, and I forget the group that was up here.
They called them Cop Watch.
Cop
And they
Watch.
would just go out with their cell
Cop
phones
Watch.
and deploy on a Friday.
And nothing better to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had a gentleman up here that tried that mess and was trying to bait officers, and he ended up making the mistake of standing on the property that was the defense logistics supply area. And he didn't realize that just because he was outside the gate, it was still their property. And when he didn't want to leave, he's like, "Oh, you're going to jail now." And we hooked him up, and it became a whole big mess. And he ended up getting convicted of. He tried to fight it, hired an attorney, and he's like, "There's nothing I can do for you. Like, you're on camera, and they told you 3 times you have to leave. It's their property. It's federal property." And after that, we didn't hear a word from him.
Such idiots. They're
Drifted
unbelievable.
away. Yeah, I
And they
mean,
look
just
for
a moron.
look for that big lawsuit.
Yep.
Well,
And that's exactly what he was trying to bait the officers into saying
Sure.
something, doing something. He was trying to be provoking, and they did a good job. They didn't buy into it and just told him when he didn't listen. Okay, well, now you're ours.
good.
But yeah, it's just a shame that it's come to that.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And you felt like, at least for the greater part of your career, you had the support of the community. You had the support of your leadership.
Oh yeah, they were. Like I said, if you did something wrong, then you had to face the music. But other than that, they backed you to the hilt. Any arrest that you made or any seizure that you made, everything was fine. There was no problems, and these citizens that we dealt with loved the cops. They didn't want any trouble on their streets or in their neighborhoods. They were the first ones to call in for a problem, and we handled it, and they were happy.
Yeah, now they don't want you around.
Now they don't want you anymore.
They don't want
Until
you
they-
anymore.
until they
And then
need
when
you.
something goes wrong, they're like, "Oh, why weren't you here?" Well,
Yeah, what happened? And Cops itself got
yeah,
canceled
yeah.
the show after
Yeah.
what, 30 plus years
35 years now. They're doing
Yeah.
streaming.
was canceled.
Yeah. It's
Well,
just,
what it is? They're still under the Ferguson effect.
yeah. Yeah,
That's the
unfortunately.
problem. I see it. Even the guys I deal with, I still talk to down south. They stop into the office where I'm working, and they go, I go, "How's what's going on?" "Oh, we hate it. We can't wait to get out of here. It's horrible." I said, "Well, okay. Well, just be safe." So
Yeah, I mean, it used to be that folks would stay, 25, 30, 35 years where nobody was in a rush to punch out. And now
no,
everybody's counting the days. The
Right.
minute they get the day, I'm out.
yeah.
And some are
sad.
going early. Some are just taking the early time and saying, I've had enough. I'll do something else.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, guilty.
Well,
I
right. Yeah.
I retired as
And
soon as I was eligible.
absolutely. And good for you. And so you should. It makes it hard to encourage the next generation
Right.
of law enforcement. We want good people and they need good people. It's just real hard to.
Well, that's one of the reasons I asked why, like, if it was easy or difficult to get a job with the sheriff's office down there in '84, because I know mid '90s, late '90s in this area, they'd say, "Oh yeah, we're hiring for 10 positions for city PD," and 1,000 people would show up.
Yeah,
to
it
take
was
Yep.
very
the
competitive.
the entrance exam, and
Right.
it was hard as hell. And I was trying to get a job in this area, and ended up getting a job in the western part of the state to start out, because that's where there was an availability and where I got a job offer.
Yeah.
It was so difficult to get a law enforcement job here. So many people wanted. Now we get 150 applicants for 20 positions, and we're like, woohoo!
Yeah, well, now it's like, are you breathing? Yes, you're hired.
Well, I used to sit on the oral board
guess
for the
I
new
got
hires.
Say again, Glenn?
I used to sit on the oral boards for new hires.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah.
How long ago would you do that?
Well, I did that probably that was in the 90s.
Okay. So
It was
probably,
myself, another sergeant, and maybe a captain or a lieutenant. and when they would, individuals would come in and do the interview, and we would turn away a lot of them because they had certain background issues, or they don't know how to go through an interview process. But the people that did really well were the military guys that came in,
Right.
because they knew the protocols, and know the the yes sir, no sir, and so it's a little bit different.
So yeah, now as long as you can show up to the interview, it's like, hey, all right.
Hey, let's give him a check because he had pants on today.
Right.
I don't even encourage anybody going to law enforcement anymore. I tell them, go to the fire service.
Yeah, we hear that all the time too. Go to the fire department.
And I don't want to be negative, but I'm going to be negative. It's there's one of our senior guys from the agency I retired from, and he had actually retired from another agency before he came to us. He'd been in that long, and was also an adjunct professor. And his words to me one day were, anybody that wants this job should not be able to pass the psych. If you want to be a cop, you should. That's like grounds for failing the psych.
Well, I've been through a few of those.
Yeah, I remember being on the street and my partner in the car, we'd see the fire truck go by and we'd look at each other and be like, man, I should have been friggin' fireman.
Sleepovers, movie night,
fix good dinners,
chili cook-offs.
You're not getting whatever thing you could get at the 7-Eleven because everything's closed now by the time you had a break. Yeah. So,
right.
Oh, man.
No microwave pizza at the Exxon.
7-Eleven, right. Dog. Oh.
So you did 25 years down there, and so kind of going this route, how did you know, or when did you know that you're like, okay, now's my time, I'm gonna hang it up?
Well, yeah, I've had my share of injuries, and I got into several fights. I got metal all over my body from broken bones. But then they were offering a buyout for sergeants, lieutenants, and captains. If you want to leave, you have to be at least 55 years old and have 25 years of service, and you can pay out on all your time you had on the books. So I thought about it, and I go, well, I can do that. It's time to do it. So that's what made me do it. So I walked out with it. They gave me a check for about $98,000, and I went, paid off my house and my cars, and I have no bills.
Oh man, can't beat that.
So it was an offer that was too good to refuse.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, once you finally retired and you left, after that, did you struggle with it any? Did you struggle with not being a cop anymore? And a lot of, there's a whole big identity with being a cop for so long. And not only that, you did 25 years and then you did military as well. So you're facing 30 years at least of being in law enforcement, being a cop. Did you find that was difficult leaving that?
Well, it was weird when I was turning in all my gear, and it was like,
yes,
well, I'm really ending this. It's like it's 25 years is over already. Couldn't believe it. I turned all my junk in, and then I had to turn my car in, which I really miss because we had take home cars, right? And go home, and it's like, wow, where'd all the years go? Now what am I going to do? I'm used to so regimented. Get up, do this, come home.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, it was like, okay, I get used to it. No big deal. Because I didn't stay inactive very long. I only stayed really technically retired for a couple of months. I ran out of honey-do lists that my wife gave me.
You ran out? I'm impressed.
That's
so
pretty
I decided to get something else. So I wound up working with this federal security company doing deportation flights with ICE out of Miami Airport every day. So I wound up doing that for about 2 years, flying the illegals back to their countries.
Huh.
Interesting.
That is.
Yeah. So it was federal law enforcement flights every day to a different country with a plane load of illegals. Handcuffed and belly chained.
So you did that for a couple years.
Yeah.
decided you were going to move on.
So I moved on because I was tired of going down to Miami Airport every day. I lived about 45 minutes to an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
So getting there early in the morning, like 3:30 in the morning every day, and then coming home in rush hour, I got tired of the ride. So I got a job with this security company as the operations manager. It used to be owned by the old sheriff of the county. So I did that for about 6 months until a new owner came in and he dissolved my position and I got laid off. So but after that, I saw this ad in the paper that this guy was hiring driving instructors, but he only wants retired cops because he was a retired cop from Philly. So I went and interviewed with him and he goes, okay, you're hired. And that was like in 2012. And here I am today doing the same thing.
Oh, wow. So you're still doing that now?
Yes, I'm the senior instructor, plus I do all the testing.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Okay. But
And
you
plus
also,
I'm a published author.
well, that's what
Here we
where I
go.
was going. I mean, you also are working on being a writer, and you're already published, and you're still working on stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm working on the 10th one being published. Yeah.
So what took you down that route?
Oh, that's a long story. Well, when I was working at that rock and roll club in the early '80s, we had thrown out some people, and they made a threat to come back and do a shooting. Well, at closing, they came back and they did a drive-by shooting, killing one of the bouncers that was standing outside. I almost got killed. My windows were shut out. My car, I was sitting in it.
Jeez.
And then they take off down the road. About 2 miles down the street, they get into an accident. The police do the accident report and release them, not knowing they just involved in the shooting.
Oh my gosh.
So they get rid of the car, they get rid of the rifle, they both flee out of the state.
Oh, shit.
Meanwhile, I run over to my friend that was shot. I get on the ground with him, and he took a bullet in the back, saving one of the waitresses. He pushed her out of the way. He got shot.
Jeez.
So I'm sticking my finger in the bullet hole, trying to stop the bleeding. But that didn't do much of anything. Medics come, the police come, they take him to the hospital where he died from his wound. So a little while later, I'm thinking, well, this whole story would make a good, interesting movie. So it took me years and years and years later, I decided, and I put this movie script together, and it was called The Hurt. The name of the club is actually the Agora Ballroom, but I couldn't use the real name. So I wrote out this script, and I got with the script writer in California, and we put this script together called The Hurt. And it entails it covers the shooting, the aftermath of the shooting, all the craziness that was going on in the rock and roll club back then with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Johnny Depp is in it. And then just by happenstance, the cameraman that was on the Cops show with us at that time is now the executive producer for the TV show The Amazing Race.
Oh,
so I got with him on Facebook, and I don't know if you remember me or not, but I told him the story. He goes, oh, yeah, I remember you. We had the great meat chase when he was with the Cops. We were chasing this car that just did a big shoplifting, and as we were chasing it, they were throwing the meats at my car. My car was hit with steaks and chickens.
Holy shit, that's a great story.
So he remembered that story. He goes, oh, yeah, I remember the great meat chase. I go, how do you remember that? You've done 1 million shows all over the world. How do you remember that? He goes, I never forgot it.
How did you forget that?
The meat chase.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I said, listen, you know, I have this script. Are you interested in maybe being the producer on it? He goes, listen, Glenn, I'd love to do it, but I'm so involved with my 30th anniversary of my show. But why don't you have somebody make it into a book and then book to movie? All right, so I got with this lady that does that, and I transformed the script from script to book. So now I have the novel out called The Hurt, and it's been out a couple of years now. So that was the basis of that incident with the shooting, and that's how I started writing. I got into the writing habit. So that one was easy to do because I lived it, right? The ones after that were very difficult to sit down and do.
Yeah. Did you do a writing a book on the meat chase?
No, but that's part of the. I think in one of my books it's in that.
The Great Meat Chase.
So that's really a departure from how you spent the previous 30 years of your life.
Yeah, sure.
And what attracted you to doing that? Did you just feel like you needed a creative outlet, or?
Well, it was really just something to do to keep busy. And after the first book, they had this idea for this other book. And every time I would sit down and make some notes, and then maybe 2 days later I'd write down some more notes, and a week later I come back and do another paragraph, and I go, "Well, this story is coming along really well. Maybe I can add some more to it." And it just kept on building and building and building on the storyline. And then you had to move things around. It was a pain in the ass, really, until I got it where I wanted it to be, and I sent it out to the publisher, and they look at it and they do what they do. And then after that one was done, I go, it just seems I have the knack now on how to do it. So I had other ideas for other types of books, and I just started doing one after the other.
It's something that has fascinated me, and it's something that, to be very honest, I mean, I'm a little jealous because it's something I've always wanted to do personally,
Yeah.
but frankly, I've been kind of intimidated by the whole process.
Your English is not real well either.
I speak good.
There's grammar check on the computers.
Spell check. I'm a prolific user of spell check.
No, that really is an accomplishment, because it is no easy task to put together a book. To put it all together, put your thoughts down, and it's definitely a task.
Yeah.
And you've got several books.
Yeah, 10.
10. And if let's see, I saw a number of them. I didn't know that it was 10. And
they're on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Kindle.
Most of them are you're staying within the fiction realm mostly.
Yeah, mostly fiction. Some are nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, of your 10, what would you say is the one that, I don't want to say is your favorite, but maybe the one that means the most to you?
Well, I think my first one is like my baby, The Hurt, because I lived it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. My next one, my most recent one that came out was called The Call Out, which covered all my call outs as a hostage negotiator on SWAT.
Okay,
Talk about all the stories. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to pick that up and check that out. I'll have to try to pick up The Hurt as well. I'm interested to hear about that story with the nightclub.
Oh yeah, and this one, The Call Out, you got my attention with that. That's sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I got hold of I was the lead negotiator on the team. The chief negotiator saw that I advertised it on Facebook, and he got a hold of me, and he goes, "Hey, can you get me a copy of that book?" So I sent him a copy, and he read it and goes, "That's really pretty good. I remember a lot of these scenes." It's okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, we spoke a little bit before we clicked the old record button, and you mentioned you've got another one in the works.
Yes.
And what's that about?
It's called Fractured Minds. It deals with suicide in policing and the military.
Oh, wow. Now, see, that's definitely right up our alley, Al.
Yeah, and I'm curious, what prompts you to explore that in writing?
Well, a friend of mine, Sergeant John Kelly, he worked with me in the sheriff's office. He's a what do you call him? Like a counselor. He does these programs for the police departments on self-awareness and how to take care of yourself after you get out of the policing, and to avoid getting into that pitfall of wanting to hurt yourself.
Yep.
So I told him, I said, a long time ago, I was trying to put something together on the same topic, and I was on the computer. I had 92 pages done, and the next day when I go back to do it to finish it out, it was gone. I couldn't find it anywhere in the system. It disappeared. It was gone forever.
Oh my gosh.
And I had all sorts of good stats in there and graphs, and it took me a long time to put it together. I had Microsoft trying to find it. I don't know what the hell happened to it. So I go, I'm not doing that again. I'm not redoing this book. Right?
I would have destroyed the computer.
I was so pissed off.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Almost at the end of it. Right? But then I talked to John, and I saw John was doing these seminars, and I go, listen, I'm thinking about doing this book on police suicide, because I had to deal with them when I worked with the sheriff's office, then in the military dealing with suicides. So he goes, yeah, sounds good. So do it. So all it is it's a combination of a bunch of research from other people. put into a book.
Okay.
So it's like 50 people that did this. That they're all counselors and health professionals and people in that genre. That I picked and chose certain parts of their research and I just put it all together.
So is it more of an informative type book on what's going on with suicides in law enforcement and military?
Yeah, it's an informative thing. It tells you, you see how other people in that field, how they deal with it, how they can, the pitfalls of it, how to avoid it, what to look for,
Yeah.
and what to be aware of.
Now, I think that's really good. That's just such a valuable piece of work in these times, just because of the amount of suicides facing first responders, law enforcement, military. It's just a bad state right now.
It's
That's
steadily
horrible.
going up.
It is, and it's, as the statistics show, there's more deaths by suicide than there are line of duty deaths,
Yes.
and that's a horrible statistic. And so I think any kind of book, anything to bring attention to that, to get people to read and learn about it, is a good thing, is a positive. So kudos to you for putting that together. That's
We
really
just had, within the last few months, we had 2 deputies commit suicide.
down there.
Yeah, in Broward.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. See, it's just,
2 from the same agency that close together.
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
One guy did overdose on fentanyl,
oh, wow.
and another guy was he was up on charges, criminal charges. He didn't want to face the charges, so he killed himself on the beach.
Man.
Mm.
See, it's tough on the agency. It's tough for all the folks that worked around
yeah.
them, because everybody's going to go, man, what did I not do to help, or what could I have done? It's very tough.
Well, the problem is a lot of that they don't want to help. They're
Right.
afraid to reach out because they're afraid what might the agency do to them.
Yep. And every bit of awareness that can be pulled for that is helpful.
Did you notice a change in that at all when you worked at Broward, like in 84, say, versus 2009? Did you feel like if you needed help, you could go to your agency and feel like you'd be okay?
Yeah, I think later on, yes. In the early part, probably not as much. I think it was like too macho for guys to go to a therapist, even though the agency has people. They have an EAP office, but they don't want to be seen walking in that door.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yep.
until they were like almost like command ordered to go down there and see somebody or see the chaplain. Either or. There was always somebody to talk to. I was always available because I came out of the military. I had to deal with a couple of suicides back then, back in the 70s. And then in the sheriff's office, I had to talk one of my guys out of shooting himself also. So I was always able to talk to people fairly well, which helped me in the hostage issue down the road.
Well, it sounds like you're definitely staying rather busy. How long do you think till this book comes out?
Well, hopefully in the next, what is this? Probably by the beginning of next month, hopefully.
Okay, nice.
So I know they're working on the book cover right now, getting
Nice.
that ready. And then it should be available on the platforms.
That's great. We'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. As soon as that comes out, I'll be one of the first ones to buy a copy.
Well, when we hang up, I'll ask for your addresses, and I'll send you a copy.
Oh man, that would be awesome.
We would love that.
That would be amazing.
We would love that.
Of course, half price. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Gotta be a good capitalist.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, man, I mean, I think that's really great how you have stayed busy. It's you've obviously. I mean, I think we could probably spend all night talking about your 25 years, because just in the short amount of time we spent here, we've talked about a drive-by shooting,
Johnny Depp.
and a shooting that took the life of somebody that you knew, a friend, something like that, and then you have the great meat chase.
The meat chase.
I mean, so you've obviously had a pretty extensive career.
Plus, I'm a private investigator also.
Oh wow! So you've had a very colorful array of public safety and law enforcement jobs.
Yeah, I mean, but you've been retired now. Retired. I'm doing the air quotes thing
Right.
here. Retired now for 9 years, and you haven't missed a beat. You're just as busy, maybe even busier than you were when you were on the job.
Yeah,
And
but I was busy then too, though.
It sounds like
busy.
you were.
but I think a lot of us in this profession, we retire and then we don't
Yeah.
know what the hell to do.
Right.
We're kind of lost. We're aimless. And I've seen some of the guys that retired from my agency, and they retire, and then 2 or 3 years go by, and you see them again, and you're like, oh my god, the guy's aged.
Well, again, they fall into a
15
depression.
years, yeah. And you go, well, what are you doing? Because I was a firearms instructor at
Yeah.
my agency, so I ran retiree firearms at
Okay.
least once a year. So you'd see
Right.
the guys at least once a year, and some of these guys have been retired 2 years, and some of these guys have been retired 10 years. But it was by and large guys that I had all worked with.
Right.
And some of them, the ones that looked the best and sounded the best were the ones that were getting out there and staying the busiest.
Yeah. Right.
I think you're a great example of that, Glenn.
You start fading away if you don't do anything.
Well, this is true, and I think you have a really good example of that, and show how important it is to stay active, after your career. That you're still things to do. I also feel like as I talk with folks that have retired and that have written books, I feel that those folks write those books because it still keeps them connected to the law enforcement community, to the first responder community. I don't know if you have that same feeling that
Yeah.
still kind of gives you that connection still to a profession that you spend a good majority of your life in.
Yes.
So that's great. I wish, Al, I joke on you about your English, but I would love to be able to put together a book as well, but it's not easy.
It's not.
I keep saying, well, I'm gonna write something eventually that's like a professional nonfiction book, but I really want to write fiction, and I'm like,
You got the creativity, and then just organizing your thoughts. That's always challenge.
yeah, and sitting
Yeah.
down at the computer and not being like squirrel. And,
Right.
It's a headache.
yeah, but I can see it being rewarding too. So
Yeah, but what I didn't want to do was you see a lot of these retired guys that go right into about their police stories. There's so many books about when I retired. This is what I did previous. I didn't want to do that. I know what I did previous. I don't want to talk about it anymore, other than the call out.
Right.
But everything else are all just kind of wild, crazy stories. That's all.
yeah, but see, I get what you're saying with that. That makes sense. You did your thing, and now you want to go in a different direction. That seems completely logical to me.
And I keep my books very short. Nobody wants to sit and read a 400-page book.
Now that I will second that.
So my books are, other than The Hurt, I think it's like 180 or 220 pages, something like that. Most of my books are under 100 pages.
See, I'm a believer in that because I think it helps keep your attention. You have these excessively long books. You're like, oh my gosh.
Right.
You spend hours and days trying to get through it. And it's just, it seems like every chapter you read, there's 2 more after it. You're like, holy crap. Am I ever
It's
going to
good
finish
for
this damn thing?
It's kind of like a short airplane ride or something like that. You take it on, you read it, and it's landing.
Yeah, see, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So, man, well, we're definitely going to have to check those out.
Yes.
I will definitely be buying some
I'll
books.
send you a copy.
Well, man, I appreciate it, Glenn. That's awesome. I'll make sure we'll send something out for you as well. So make sure to give us your address as well.
I will.
Okay. But Glenn, man, thanks so much for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I know it was kind of spontaneous.
Yeah, it was, and but I'm glad we had the chance to talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you really seem like you're doing well and living great, and you've had this great career and all. Man,
It's fun.
It's a good example.
It really is. We're gonna have to stay in touch though,
Okay,
because
sounds good.
when that book comes out, I want to talk to you again about how it's going and what kind of feedback and stuff you're getting.
Oh, we will
No,
be
it's
ringing you.
good. I'll send you a copy. No problem.
Awesome, Glenn. Thanks so much for taking some time to hang out with us this evening.
No, thank you. I appreciate
Great meeting you.
it.
And
You too.
I almost feel like we're going to have to get you back on because I want to hear some more of these stories. And I just feel like you have a lot of them.
Oh, there's some interesting ones. Believe me. Actually, one of my cases went to the Supreme Court.
See?
Wait, you're just dropping us. You're dropping that now? Okay. Which one went to the Supreme Court? I'm not. You're not off the hook yet.
Uh-oh.
Which one went to the Supreme Court?
It was a narcotic arrest on a bus.
On a bus.
On a bus on a one of those. It was a Greyhound bus.
Wait, tell me more. Wait a minute. Usually heard this. I can't believe I'm saying
Okay,
that.
when I was working organized crime, we did interdiction on the airport and at the bus terminals. So we confronted a guy on the bus. We saw him. He looked a little suspicious. So we walked up to him, identified ourselves, and said, where are you traveling? Do you have a ticket? Yes. Do you have any bags? No. And we saw him walk in with a bag. So right above his head, we went in the baggage thing and found his bag. And we asked, so this your bag? No, it's not my bag. Okay. So now it's abandoned property. We can look into it. And we looked in. He had 2 kilos of cocaine in there.
Whoops.
Yeah, that's what he said. So we arrested him. Now, if you ever been on those Greyhound buses, there's a very skinny aisle, and then you have the 2 seats on each side. So there was 2 of us. Actually, there was 3 of us on the bus in the aisle with the guy. We handcuffed him, walked him off. Well, went to court, at the local court, and they said that because we blocked his way and he was under arrest first, he wasn't free to leave.
Oh, geez.
So that they took that to the Supreme Court, and the court overturned the arrest because they said that, well, he wasn't under arrest at the time, and you were blocking his access to leave the bus. So it was an unlawful detention. So it was a violation of Fourth Amendment rights. So he got out. We didn't give him back the coke, but that made the Supreme Court case.
Oh, wow. So what did the Supreme Court say?
They said that we should have had an open path for him to walk off the bus.
Oh, jeez.
In a nutshell,
There's no room on that damn thing.
So after that, we started to leave an open path.
Wow.
Yeah.
But isn't it more fun to have that guy have to explain how he lost 2 kilos?
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's Florida, and he probably, think of the characters he'd have to explain it to.
Listen, when I used to work organized crime with the airport, I used to work when we'd have had a major drug case, we would turn it over to DEA, and then DEA would continue it to wherever it was going to. And a lot of times we flew with DEA with the bad guy and the dope to the New York and Minneapolis or to Chicago and finish the drug deal. And I would dress up as a FedEx or a UPS guy and make the delivery.
That's great.
That was fun.
I did some of that in my career, and that's a blast.
It was a blast. Yeah.
That's fun stuff right there.
All right, we
That's
weren't
the
going to
it
let
was
you
all
go.
overtime. It made it even better.
Exactly. We weren't going to let you go without telling us. You couldn't just say you had someone go to the Supreme Court and
Oh,
that.
okay. You got
Glenn,
it.
again, thank you so much. Great to meet you.
Thank you.
We're going to keep in touch, okay?
Yeah, when I hang up with you, I'll text you and you text me back.
Absolutely.
Or email.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Glenn, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Absolutely. Man, now he has, I think, some stories.
I think we just scratched the surface.
I think you're right.
No, that was fun. That was good.
No, it was he was great to talk to, great to meet. Good veteran law enforcement officer from a busy area.
It was very nice of Glenn to come on.
Yeah, no, that was great. It was good to have a little conversation and have some talk about his experiences.
Yeah, and once he gets that new book out, I think we we'll definitely be having him back on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely want to get that, read it, and
Yeah. So good talk.
absolutely,
Good talk.
absolutely.
But I wanted to say something because yesterday it had been 3 years since our mutual best friend passed away.
Yep.
In 2020.
Yep.
October 15th. And I just wanted to talk about him for just a second because this was somebody, Barrett, Deputy Barrett Walters, William Barrett Walters, retired from Chesterfield Sheriff's Office, which is in our area, and somebody I had known since kindergarten.
Yeah,
And you had known
since high school.
Since high school.
Yeah.
And just thinking about him and how involved he was in our lives and how much he was an uncle to our kids and all
Yep.
that.
Yep.
But specific to what we're doing right now, we would not be here recording right this moment were it not for him.
I agree.
I just simply wouldn't happen. I met you many years ago,
Right. Yeah.
because of him,
Right.
and
Well, so many of us were interconnected through Barrett.
yeah, oh yeah, and it takes me back to a quote that another dear mutual friend said at his wake, which was a Marcus Aurelius quote, which is, everything is connected, everything is interconnected, and the web is sacred.
Yep.
And Barrett was the center of the web.
He was.
And so when we go back to what this podcast is about, we would not be here were it not for him.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
And after he passed, I think, well, it was well over a year ago. You're like, Al, we need to do a podcast. We need a podcast. I'm like, that sounds really interesting and also crazy. But I cannot help but think that somewhere out there, he had a little bit of heavenly magic.
I think so.
That sparked this and sustained this process.
I think so. And I wish he were here to enjoy this process with us.
He'd be making fun of us. He would be.
Oh, he would absolutely be making fun of us. And that would be his classic Barrett. But I do miss him and wish he were here.
But again, if it were not for him, we would not be here at all.
No, we got his picture here in the bar.
Yeah. And
we keep that up, and
just about every time I walk in here to record, I look at that picture and that thought, were it not for him, badge to the bone would not be a thing.
It wouldn't. And for all the hurdles we went over getting this launched, and for the hurdles of
the day you told me you were going to throw the computer out the window.
I thought about Barrett would not let me quit.
No.
Yeah, so for all those times I was ready to give up. I knew if he were here, he would not let me. Yeah, he would definitely. He would
have laughed at you when
would,
you were like ready to throw the entire soundboard out the window.
He would have laughed.
He would have laughed his ass off.
And he'd have been like, just give it a day. Just give it a day. Just turn it all off. Give it a day, and then think about it tomorrow. But he would have not let me give up on it or quit. He's just always, Brett had a positive outlook for everything.
Yeah.
And all the hurdles he went through to stay as positive as he was.
All of his myriad of health issues and the fact that he had to take medical retirement. But he was still a cheerleader for the job.
He was.
And when you were having a hard time, he was there to support you and kick you in the ass if you needed it. And I can say the same. And, I know that when he passed, I think for me, that was kind of my tipping point.
That was tough.
And so, to come full circle 3 years later to be in Badge to the Bone headquarters, I feel like while he is not physically here with us, he is really, he is Badge to the Bone.
He is.
So
I believe he is with us
every time we're in here recording.
No doubt.
And making fun of us.
I know he's making fun of us. So, but
so I just wanted to say something about that because it really is something I think that's important to both of us, and that something as bad as his passing led to something that I think both of us are enjoying.
Yeah, we are, and it is. He was a great friend to a lot, but definitely a great friend to us, and we had some good times together.
Yeah, and the reason we're here now.
Absolutely. All right, Al, that's going to wrap us up.
I think it does.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at badgetothebone.com. They can also find us on Facebook at Badge to the Bone.
Also, shoot us an email at wearebadgetothebone@gmail.com. And while you're listening, make sure to like and follow us. But until then, be safe.
And be well.